So, a lot of people were asking me, Gekko, are you going to talk about Tekken 8? Are you going to play the game? Are you excited for Tekken 8? And if I was entirely honest, not really. Tekken isn't really my thing. I played it a little bit before I really got into fighting games, but I never actually sunk any time into it. I never tried to get good at Tekken. I never really found the drive to keep playing. A lot of this was due to the pretty shoddy online, but there was other factors that just never really made me want to play Tekken more than a casual level. So I was kind of just going to give Tekken 8 a pass, you know, see how everything goes. Maybe watch a couple of Tekken YouTubers and streamers to see what their thoughts were. And then Bandai Namco gave me an early review copy, so here we are. This is going to be a bit more of a looser kind of video. I just want to talk about my initial impressions with Tekken, mainly because we can't play online yet. It says that the servers are still under maintenance, and I'm pretty sure that's just because they're not up, they're not actually working right now. So we're just gonna have to talk about the single player modes and everything that you can do offline. So don't take this as a full review because, let's be honest, until we get our hands on the online, I can't really say how good the game is. Take this more as a first impressions. So let's talk about my first impressions with Tekken 8. As I said before, I'm not the biggest Tekken guy. I played quite a bit of Tekken 7. Quite a bit for like a casual player, not quite a bit as in how much I actually play fighting games. So I got a little bit of the gameplay down, but none of the characters that I really sunk my teeth into made it over to Tekken 8. So I kind of had to learn everything from the beginning again. But how does the actual base game play? How does Tekken 8 feel when compared to the rest of the Tekken franchise? Well, it's Tekken. I don't really know how else to describe it. I'm not the biggest into Tekken movement and Tekken lore, but I would probably say that this feels a lot like Tekken 7 rather than the older Tekken games. I didn't really feel too much difference when trying to move around my character like I did when I tried to move them in Tekken 7. I imagine that there's a couple of people who can give you a more in-depth argument with this, but I would say on the basis, if you really like Tekken 7, you'll probably really like Tekken 8. And if you didn't like Tekken 7 and wish you had more things like Tag Tournament 2, then I'm not entirely sure this is going to be the Tekken game for you, unfortunately. The heat system does add a lot of potential to the actual base combat. Unfortunately, I'm worried it's more going to dilute everything instead of making it more interesting. Heat feels like one of those mechanics where you activate it for a big combo and a big payout over anything else, really. Like, yeah, it does more damage on chip and it causes them to take Grey Life, but you can just kind of spend it in combos and get more damage and easier combos. So I feel like it's going to become one of those things where you get a nice hit, activate heat, do the heat dash, and then do a combo of a heat ender to get just more damage. It very much feels like one of those love it or hate it mechanics. I imagine that a lot of old Tekken heads aren't really gonna like it, but also, who knows, it could be the spice up that the game needs. I'm kind of indifferent about it because, again, not good at Tekken. So when you're at like a lower level, it doesn't play that much of a role. You kind of just do a move and the next thing you know, your character's sprinting forward and you do chip damage now. But I'm sure that, like, once you find actual combos with it and actual setups with it, it can be very, very, very deadly. What about legacy skill? Tekken's a franchise that's just known for having the most legacy skill-dependent gameplay in about any fighting game. If you learn how to play a character in Tekken 3 that isn't named Jin Kazama, you can probably play them in the later Tekken games. And thankfully, I would say that that's still intact. A lot of the characters have an exact moveset that they did before, with a couple of tweaks here and there, which isn't uncommon for Tekken. The base moves that everyone has still feel the same. You still got your electrics, you still got your wave dashes, you still got your orbitals, you still got all of that stuff. And when you pick up a character that you've played before, even slightly, it still feels like they're a very familiar version of themselves. Like, I played a tiny bit of Elisa, and I mean a tiny bit, and I picked her up and tried to do a B&B that I used to, and I just went, oh, it's the same character. It's the same person. So, if your old main from Tekken 7 is in this game, you probably have a better starting point. And if you've been playing Tekken since, like, Tekken 1, yeah, you've got a good starting point. You know exactly what you're going to be doing. This game will still reward legacy skill, hopefully above everything else. I'm kind of in this camp where I think we need at least one fighting game that rewards legacy skill. And I'm happy for it to be Tekken, because, yeah, it makes sense. But who knows? Who knows? Going on to the visuals, I'm not really a big graphics guy. It's not really something I care about. But Tekken 8 does look very nice. I can't deny that. Tekken's been trying to go for a more realistic style over the past few games, and they've done that without really compensating on how the animation works. Characters will still twist and bend in ways that emphasize the kicks and the punches, and it's always very nice to see, especially with the high-fidelity models and the really nice graphics. Ooh. I will say, though, there is this weird funny thing that happens where when you play on, like, high-fidelity graphics in the story mode, you'll do gameplay, and then it'll cut to a cutscene. And in the cutscene render is way worse looking than the actual gameplay. It's really funny. For some reason, the cutscenes look like PS3 era renders. Like, it feels like when I'm watching it, I'm watching the Tekken X Street Fighter trailer. Oh, well, the Street Fighter X Tekken trailer, where, like, Ryu and Ken are beating up Kazuya and Jin in the street. It wasn't Kazuya and Jin, it was Kazuya and... Was it Kazuya and Nina? I can't remember. Can you tell that this one doesn't have a script? Yeah, it reminds me of that. It feels like everything's a little bit overglossed and bloomed out a little bit. Speaking of the story mode, I can't show you a lot of it, but it's a Tekken story mode. It's better than Tekken 7's in some regards, but yeah, I'm gonna be 100% real. I am not the biggest fan of the Tekken story modes. I much prefer the older arcade modes where everyone got their own little cinematic and stuff. And there is something like that there. I haven't really gotten a chance to go through it too much, but the story mode is fine. If you like shonen anime stuff, you'll probably get a kick out of it. And if you like playing a lot of different Tekken characters, you'll definitely get a kick out of it. But it's just okay. It's just alright. I kind of wish they'd stop focusing on the Mishima bloodline for a bit. But, you know, it's a Tekken storyline. Like, what did you expect? But there was a big thing that I was looking out for in Tekken 8 that I was really, really worried about. Because if you don't remember, Tekken 7 had the worst tutorial in any fighting game I've ever seen. Because it didn't have one. Tekken 7 eventually got a couple of learning tools near the end of its life, but it never actually got anything major and substantial to teach players how to play any character. Which isn't good, because Tekken's gameplay is so in-depth that you kind of need a guiding hand in order to learn how to play the characters, even at a base level. Players would literally create cheat sheets with, like, the key moves that would help players understand what's going on, right? So, when I went into Tekken 8 and I didn't find just a dedicated tutorial button, I was kind of worried. I thought maybe they just did the same thing again. And yeah, they had, like, combo trials and a key move list, which is a nice step, but it doesn't really teach players anything substantial. And then I played the Arcade Tour mode, or whatever it's called, and I was pleasantly surprised. I kind of thought this mode was gonna be ass. I thought it was gonna be a really crappy World Tour knockoff from Street Fighter 6. But it turned out to be something that I've kind of been asking for in fighting games for a while, and I'm very happy about that. Basically, it's like a personal story mode where you create your own character and you try to get good at Tekken so that you can go to the Tekken World Tour and beat the fuck out of this guy. The story in it, it's not good, but I also barely read it, so that's probably why I don't think it's good. However, there is a really cool feature in it where you have, like, a sidekick called Max. And Max will, before going into, like, a new area, be like, hey, you should probably learn about this thing, and you'll do a tutorial. And then you'll do the tutorial. It has a dedicated tutorial. It will tell you everything that you need to know how to play the bases of Tekken. It will let you select a character. It will show you the moves that are relative to, like, that character in the terms of that tutorial. So, like, if your character has a guard crush, it will show you their guard crush and stuff like that. And then it'll go, okay, we're going to put you against some CPUs now. Try and land that thing that you just learned about. And it's really cool. So, like, they'll give you B&B combos. And they'll be like, hey, try and land this in a match. And it'll just be there at the top of the screen for you to remember. And then you can just be like, okay, I need to land this launcher, I need to do this combo. And it's not like, oh, hop kick into whatever. These are like actual punish combos. These are like actual basic bread and butter building blocks of combos. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of nice having something being like, hey, this is a risk-free zone. It doesn't matter. you can go and you can learn how to do this thing that we've given you is a way that people should learn fighting games. And the fact that it's in this weird chibi-looking mode is kinda nice. I wish that it was more promoted. I wish, like, when you started, the game would be like, hey, how new are you to Tekken? And if you're, like, dead new, then it'll be like, okay, maybe you should try this mode first, and it'll give you that mode. But it's still cool. It's still nice. It's a thing that if you played Tekken before, you can kind of just ignore because it gives you some costumes and not much else. But if you're really new to Tekken, it's a good way to get, like, your foot in the door. It's a good way to figure out how to play the game. And I kind of like that. Not that big on the character customization. I think they look a little bit funky. I made my guy look like Neo Cortex, but it's fine. It's whatever. I like funky little lobbies. Hopefully they're online, and that's like the big thing right now. That's the big thing on why I'm not making a full dedicated video. I'm making this little rambly one. There's no online to test, and that worries me. The closed and open beta tests were okay. They were fine. They were alright, but we heard a couple of problems from some people, especially when it came to Wi-Fi connections. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm kind of scared that I'm going to be saying the praises of this game, be like Tekken has like an actual tutorial, it'll teach you how to play it, and then we'll go online and it'll just be Tekken 7 again. So I'm a little worried. I'm tempering my expectations. I would say if you like Tekken or you really want to get into Tekken, then it's probably a day one buy. But if you're like on the fence, give it a bit, you know? Give it a couple of days. See how the online goes. Because we fucking know that it's still apparently acceptable for fighting games to come out and have really bad online. Oh, I hope you're ready for Saturday's video. It's going to be funny. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. That's my initial thoughts on Tekken 8. I hope this was useful to you. I hope that if you're a non-Tekken head, this has maybe given you a little bit more information on if you should buy the game or not. If you are a Tekken head, I hope you got something out of this video. And if you just like the sound of my voice and are like, why is this not crazily edited and released at 7 o'clock on a Thursday, then come back on Saturday. I'm also streaming right now. We're not streaming Tekken. I have an embargo on when I can stream it, and the embargo is 3 hours after the video embargo. So we're going to be playing Under Night in Birth 2 and praying to God that the online works. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on Saturday. As always, I'd like to give a very special thanks to 64 MHz, Almost Nap Time, Ben from Canada, Cervantes de Leon, Daniel Wiedericht, Edison Lottery, Fexo, Games.png, I Am Naruto, MP04, Mr. Clen, Ray W, Sergeant Cubby, Super, Falcon, Tom Tanks, Velvet Puppy, Volta, and Zandatsu for being Tier 2 patron supporters.